This song was released in 2001. Looking back, it foreshadows a story that starts 7 years later. One that we've all come to know. But it's not just Britney we need to free.
It sounds just like my story, and I relate to her so much.
What we see happening with Britney Spears is something that we see happening with people all over the country who aren't famous and don't get the media attention that Britney does, but still experience really awful stripping of their rights.
If it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone.
This past June, Britney Spears made an impassioned plea to Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Brenda Penny. It was also the first time many of us heard directly from the pop icon, rather than from a tabloid, about the conservatorship she's lived under for 13 years. During her speech, she explained that she was extremely unhappy with the legal arrangement. She also made shocking claims that she was drugged against her will, forced to perform, and denied her reproductive rights. Across the country, an estimated 1.3 million Americans are under a conservatorship, also known as a guardianship.
Britney's case is not that unusual.
Zoe Brennan Crone is an attorney with the ACLU's Disability Rights Program.
Her fame, her wealth, her talent, those are unusual. But the process she's going through that's happening all the time in a million other cases in the country I think is really important for people to understand.
A conservatorship or guardianship is ordered when a judge decides that a person, usually someone who's elderly or disabled, is incapable of taking care of themselves.
And you also see a lot of people who get into them in some sort of psychiatric crisis.
So they appoint another individual or organization to make decisions on the person's behalf. LaDoris Hazard Cordell is an author and retired judge for the Santa Clara County Superior Court in California. Judge Cordell, in your personal experience, have you presided over many conservatorship cases? And what were they like?
Indeed, I have. And I will tell you, the typical conservatorship deals with people who are gravely disabled. Usually it's the elderly. If you look at Britney's case, somebody who clearly can go out and perform and make a whole lot of money, and still,
Right.
A determination is made. No, you're still not capable of really deciding anything about your life. I find that to be outrageous.
It can often really be a matter of course, that if a person has disabilities, their parents get a guardianship over them. It's a really big, invasive process, but often it's done as though it's not that big a deal.
That lack of attention leads to a lack of transparency. Why is there so much privacy around these cases? Like with Britney's case, all the records are sealed.
That's a really good point. Conservatorships take place in courts paid for by taxpayers, and they are public proceedings. And what do we know about systems where they're secret? They're not held accountable. What did the judges do in Britney's case? They closed the proceedings. And when did they stop? When the media and public pressure, the Free Britney movement took hold, pressure was on, and then the judge says, oh, let's keep it open.
The records about conservatorship demographics are spotty, to say the least.
We count things in our society that are important to us. And it's quite striking that we do not count how many people are in conservatorships and guardianships. And we don't know how many of those are older people, how many are younger people. But I know a lot of young people who get into this. And when they get into it, they're often there for their whole lives.
What we do know is there is a school to guardianship pipeline that traps disabled young people in these arrangements at an early age.
People are told, this is what you should do. This is how you help your child. This is how you take care of them. And parents don't necessarily know to question that because it's someone they trust. It's a school telling them that. And it's really, really problematic.
Michael Lincoln McCrate is a 26-year-old with an intellectual disability who successfully terminated an oppressive guardianship. Michael, let's start from the beginning. How did you end up in a guardianship?
I didn't realize it was happening until doctors came to the house and started asking me a whole bunch of questions. Then an attorney came in and said, you have a court date on this day. I need you to be there. So I arrived at the courthouse, and that's when I found out I was petitioned to have my rights taken.
And how did you feel in the moment that it happened?
I was ticked off. I was PO'd. Everything in the book.
I bet.
I wanted to say something to the judge.
What would you have said?
You get to go home at the end of all this and pretend nothing ever happened. But the person that you had your rights taken it's a whole different life.
What kind of guardianship were you in and what did that entail?
I was in a full guardianship. It takes away your right to vote, your right to get married, the right to have friendships, all of those things.
And did you know your guardian?
No, I did not, because it was a court-appointed guardian. She put me in a licensed group home where I was now not able to go nowhere, and I was fully locked down. They had me cleaning feces off of mattresses. They had me restraining individuals. They had me doing all kinds of stuff.
Was there a point when you called the police or asked someone for help?
Oh, I called a lot of people. The governor, the sheriff, the chief of police, county commissioners, Adult Protective Services came out, did absolutely nothing.
Wild that you called all of these officials and no one could do anything.
Well, I knew there had to be some way to get out. So my friend told me, call Disability Rights, here's the number. But I didn't have a phone or anything. So I had to come up with a smart way to actually contact them. So I had to ask the guardian for money to enough to buy a book or whatever, $60.
Wow.
And then I snuck out and bought a cell phone. And then I was able to hide in the closet and call Disability Rights. And we were able to restore my rights.
You literally hid in the closet.
Yes.
Michael was actually the first person in Florida to terminate his guardianship using a less restrictive alternative called supported decision-making.
Supported decision-making is what people with and without disabilities use all the time to, get support. Choose people you want to help you make your own choices. So you're still the one making the choice, but someone else might help you do it.
And is that what you're in right now?
Yes.
Do you like it?
I like it. I'm actually a state licensed security officer right now. I work, I'm back to my normal self. I like to go to the movies. I like to go to karaoke. I go to karaoke one night every single week.
Beyond his career and social life, Michael advocates for the passage of a supported decision-making law in Florida. Meanwhile, Brittany's case has inspired federal legislation. Congresspeople Charlie Crist and Nancy Mace are two representatives behind the FREE Act, which protects Americans from conservatorship abuse and exploitation. Tell me about the FREE Act. What does it entail exactly?
The FREE Act, first of all, would allow someone who's in a conservatorship to petition the court or a judge to have an impartial public guardian, someone who doesn't have any sort of conflict of interest in overseeing their conservatorship. And then it provides a funding mechanism for courts and counselors to oversee conservatorships where there may be abuses.
It also offers transparency so that the state has the opportunity to look at what's happening with any conservatorship or guardianship, and also offers caseworkers as a fourth point, people that can monitor what's going on and make sure that the right thing is being done according to the new law.
This isn't the first time conservatorship reform legislation has been introduced in Congress, but Representatives Mace and Crist are optimistic. What makes this time different?
The fact that it's Britney Spears obviously brings incredible attention to it. That's one of the things that celebrities have an opportunity to get change made, is that they have a certain platform.
I would agree. Britney's testimony, she really offered a voice to the voiceless and gave that voice and emotion and that courage that she had to speak up in June. We wouldn't be where we are today if that hadn't happened, if we didn't hear the horrors of her conservatorship. This legislation probably wouldn't even be drafted yet.
What can young people do to advocate for this legislation and other reform in the near future?
Well, they can call their congressman, call their offices, and let them know they support this legislation. If their member of Congress is not a co-sponsor, they can encourage them to do that.
Contact your member of Congress, contact your U.S. Senator, because it's going to have to go over there eventually, and advocate. Use social media to communicate the fact that this is important to you as a citizen and that you want to see a wrong be righted, and have that applied to so many people across our country for their benefit as well.
In Overprotected, Britney sings that there must be another way. Today, we learned there is. And it's time for us to speak up, not just for Britney, but for everyone who risks losing their civil rights.